man is branded the world's strongest, the real question is how that strength turns into lasting money. Mark Henry's story is not only about a giant in a wrestling ring, it is about an Olympian who learned that medals do not always pay the bills, and a performer who stayed valuable long after the spotlight moved on. Public estimates put his net worth in the mid-single-digit millions, with one widely cited figure at about $4.5 million, though the real number is private. Staying to the end confirms something most fans miss. The biggest money is rarely one huge payday. It is the slow way a reputation becomes an asset, and how wrestling can keep paying someone after the last match. Mark Henry did not enter fame through a red carpet. He entered through a weight room. He competed as a super heavyweight weightlifter at the 1992 and 1996 Olympics, and he won 3 weightlifting medals at the 1995 Pan American Games. That resume sounds glamorous, but Olympic lifting has never been a simple path to security. Training costs money, travel costs money. The sport can give pride while still leaving an athlete looking for stability. WWE understood that gap. Henry has described his first WWE agreement as a long, guaranteed deal, unusual for its time, the kind of contract that gives an athlete room to plan a life instead of living gig to gig. A guarantee changes behavior. It lets someone invest in skill, not just survival. But it does not automatically create wealth. It creates income. Wealth is what remains after taxes, family needs, and the quiet pressure to spend like a star. Henry's early WWE years were also not a straight path to main events. Wrestling is a craft, not a pure test of strength. It takes timing, character work, and the ability to carry a story for years. Those years are where many careers break. Henry lasted, and longevity is one of the most underrated moneymakers in entertainment. A performer who stays for decades is not just selling one night. He is building a library of moments. Those moments become merchandise, video packages, and licensed clips that keep moving long after the live crowd goes home. In WWE, Henry eventually collected titles that marked him as more than a special attraction. He became a European champion, an ECW champion, and a World Heavyweight champion in 2011. That world title matters financially in a way fans do not always see. It can raise bargaining power, expand marketing time, and increase merchandise visibility. More screens mean more recognition. More recognition can mean more opportunities outside the ring. Then there is the strongest man identity, which did not only exist in storylines. WWE has highlighted that Henry won the inaugural Arnold Strongman Classic in 2002, a real-world win that added credibility to the brand built around him. This is where Henry's image becomes unusually portable. Many wrestlers are famous mainly inside wrestling. Henry's strength identity could travel. The word Olympian opens one set of doors. The word strongman opens another. Together, they form a public image that feels earned, not invented. Earned images function like social currency. Promoters book with more confidence. Brands worry less about risk. A paid appearance feels like an event instead of a routine photo line. Over time, a veteran's income often shifts. The early years are about checks for being on the roster and working matches. Later years can add royalties and licensing, plus appearance fees tied to the name itself. Even when a wrestler is off television, a likeness can keep generating money in the background. As Henry's in-ring schedule slowed, he moved into roles that keep him close to the industry with less physical wear. In 2021, All Elite Wrestling announced that he signed a multi-year deal to work as a coach and an analyst for AEW Rampage. Coaching and broadcasting reveal a different kind of earning power, expertise. Those jobs pay for knowledge and authority. They also extend a career beyond the body. He became a familiar voice in wrestling media as well. SiriusXM has listed Mark Henry as part of the rotating co-host group for Busted Open, a role that keeps his name in the weekly rhythm of the sport. Media work is quieter than the main event, but it can be steady. It can also widen a personal brand beyond one company, which can lead to more speaking work and more bookings that do not require taking a single bump. This is why public net worth numbers can confuse people. A career can bring in far more money than the number suggests. Net worth is not a record of earnings. It is a snapshot of assets minus liabilities at one point in time with limited public data. Wrestling careers are also expensive. Travel never really stops. Supporting a big body is costly. Some people invest well, others spend to match the image fans expect. The public sees the entrance. It does not see the budget. There is also the hidden reality of timing. Henry entered WWE during an era when pay structures, health support, and long-term planning were not as developed as they are today. A guaranteed deal helped, but it did not erase the uncertainty of how or when he would be featured. What makes Henry's financial story stand out is how he kept finding ways to be useful. When a performer becomes a mentor, a commentator, or a licensed legend, the money becomes less about weekly exposure and more about long-term ownership of an identity. In 2018, Henry was inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame, a label that moves a wrestler into the brand's permanent memory. That kind of honor is not just ceremonial. It keeps a name active for documentaries, conventions, and future partnerships. It makes the story feel complete, which is exactly what brands and audiences respond to. Even years later, the brand can be reactivated. Reports in 2025 discussed Henry signing a WWE Nostalgia-style deal, the kind of agreement that often supports licensing and select appearances. Here is the central realization. Mark Henry's net worth is not a simple scoreboard of matches and titles. It is the value of a lifetime reputation turned into a reusable product. Strength was never only physical. Strength became a brand that companies could trust, fans could recognize, and promotions could rent. The early guaranteed contract likely gave stability at the moment it mattered most, but the deeper, big money move was staying in the system long enough for the long tail to take over. Coaching work, media work, Hall of Fame status, licensing deals that keep paying even when the ring is far away. This is how wrestling wealth often works at the top. The ring is the factory. The real product is the story. A wrestler who becomes a symbol can keep earning when the body no longer wants to. In that light, mid-single-digit million estimates do not look small. They look like a reminder that fame can be loud, but wealth is quiet. Much of the value sits in agreements and rights that outsiders never see. And there is another quiet truth. Mark Henry's public image has always centered on power, but the richest part of his story is control. Control over the next step, control over relevance, control over when to shift from performer to mentor to voice. That control is what separates a short-lived payday from lasting money. Some imagine a giant life filled with constant luxury. The reality is often simpler. A long career builds comfort, not endless excess. The biggest win is not always a new purchase. It is the ability to choose work that fits the season of life. Henry's name still carries weight because it was built slowly, in public, and with consistency. Olympic credentials, a rare strongman win, a world title run that proved he could carry a company moment. And inside that story is a contrast that never fully disappears. The world called him the world's strongest man. But the strongest move may have been learning that visibility is not the same as security, and that the most valuable part of fame is what can still earn in silence long after the crowd has moved on.